Hello, Heather Jean here.
Hello, hey
Uh,
Heather, so nice to be
Catherine,
here.
I'm so excited for this three-part series. We
Yes.
started talking about doing this one today, and then we ended up with like a whole kind of program for people, which I could not be better timed, right? Because we're heading in,
Hmm.
that takes us right up until the 22nd of December. So, like, releasing and, being free of our fears, and
Hmm.
what a perfect time of year.
Yes. And I
Catherine,
mean,
do you want
especially, yeah.
to go for it? Yeah, especially,
No, the energy in December is just so beautiful, you know. It's just so energizing, so blissful, and it's like opening up the space for creating something new. So this is just really a perfect timing to do this.
really is.
So thank you
Really.
so much.
Oh, I'm so glad. Would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Yes, of course, I'd be happy to. Thank you so much. So my name is Kathrin Niesel, and I'm a healer and a coach, and I help highly intuitive entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers to release any success sabotaging habits, beliefs, so that they can really step up, acknowledge their greatness, and express their awesomeness so that they can create the success they desire in life and in their business with ease and most importantly with joy. I'm all about joy, and yeah, that's basically me. And I'm so happy I get to do this because empowering women has, since I've been working in the corporate world, always been something that is so dear to me. And doing it the way I do, working with my clients, it's the joy of my life, or one of them.
That's beautiful. And it's
Thank
interesting
you.
because I think a lot of times um, we we hear things like change or overcome, or those kind of things, and then we hear, and then followed by the word fear or
Mm,
beliefs, and it feels like, wow, that's a lot of work. That sounds hard. But then you're talking about doing this with joy.
yes.
I mean, how does that work?
Well, I think it's a very important to always be connected to your why. Why do you actually want to do this? Connect with the joy of having achieved the why, the mission you have, and then using powerful, effective tools. That's basically what it comes down to. It's like really using tools that are not only effective, but also get to the point, get to the root cause. We don't just like guess around, but we, release the fear where it's at. It's like weeding out the garden, pulling out all the stuff we don't want anymore. And then they don't, so that they can't grow back. And that's where the joy comes in, because you see results so fast. It's amazing.
I love this, and I love the analogy of weeding the garden, because
Hmm.
it really is, it really is a good analogy for, you can keep kind of plucking away at them and they will keep coming back,
Hmm.
or you can face them and
Yeah.
shift them once and for all.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so
Absolutely.
today, in the first of our three-part series, we are going to be talking about, well, you tell us, what are we going to be talking about?
Yes. So today we're going to talk about a pretty big one, which, and I want to be full honest here, held me back for the longest time. And it took me really long to recognize it. And today we're going to talk about the fear of visibility and failure, which of course, especially, and it doesn't even matter whether or not you have an online business or an offline business. I have worked with clients who have offline business, and who didn't dare to show up in the offline world, so to say, whether in form or in with their consciousness, energetically. But so this is a big one. If we can release that, that's a huge game changer. So in the aim of this life, I've made me some notes so I don't miss out on any important notes, important topics. So the aim of this life is to really bring awareness of how the fear of visibility and fear of failure can actually show up in the everyday life, because it's not necessarily super obvious. It can be, but it can also be kind of like show up with a mask, so to say, and so that we can really address it, that we can release it and show up as the confident expert we already are, and understand that there are so many clients out there, or so many possibilities for us, that just want to be basically used by us, so that we can really have the impact we desire to have and create the financial independence and the successful life and business we want. So this is the aim of this session today. And within the next 20 minutes or so, I'm just going to give you examples of how it actually can show up in your life, so that you really understand, like, oh, this could be actually a fear of visibility and, not something else. And I also want to share a tool with you to really overcome it, to really start working on this today, so that you can basically grow your confidence, not only because you release those fears, but also and this is super important for me, to acknowledge that you actually are a very powerful being, that you can do this. Of course, help is always awesome, but we can also already get started by using what we have within us. And of course, it's always awesome if anyone who watches either the replay or now here live has any questions. Just feel free to ask them. This is a safe space. Feel free to ask it. And especially when it comes to questions like how to recognize it in your daily life and what to do when it shows up, this is can be also really powerful. And the benefit is, if you ask questions, I will share more information, more tips and more tricks, and we all get so much more out of it. Me, because I love it. I enjoy it so much. And you might get, tips and tricks that can really help boost your confidence and be the successful entrepreneur, coach, healer, artist, whatever it is you desire, starting today. So that's basically what's going to happen.
I'm
How
so
does that
ready. I am
sound?
so ready. Yes.
That's awesome. So, shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so first of all, why is it actually important to speak about this topic, bringing awareness to it? Because, of course, no one wants to talk about their fears. Let's be honest. We all want to show up in the online world or in general, being like, oh, I'm so confident and I have it all figured out. So talking about fears is not necessarily something we desire to do. But here's the reason why we have to talk about it. Because if there's one thing I know, you have tremendous gifts and talents. You have a beautiful message to share with the world. You have this phenomenal light, and let's face it, the world needs it right now. I mean, come on, we really need to be, bringing all our talents and gifts and light to the world right now. And so that we can impact our clients' life, so that we can make the change we want to see, so that we move from a beautiful quote to taking the action. Yeah. And I really believe you should, because this is, this desire within you is not there because of oh, you woke up one day and you were like, oh yeah, let's do this. No, this desire is within you because this is your calling. This is what you're meant to do. That's your purpose, your passion. So I truly believe, if we allow ourselves, if we give ourselves the space to follow this desire, there will be so much more happiness, so much more light in this world, so much more love in this world. And just imagine how that would feel. you know? So the thing is, we know all this. We have the desire. We have these dreams. We have these visions. We journal about it. We know all this. But when it comes to presenting ourselves, whether it's online or offline, maybe in networking events or however, it's really, and also, oh, we don't not to forget when it's about to offer our services, to say name our price, and oftentimes we start to, linger, feel resistance when we want to express like our knowledge, our experience, and that, of course, is kind of like a full stop. Let's be honest. It's kind of a full stop if we are resistant when it comes to, expressing our expertise, our knowledge, standing up for what we know, what we believe in, what, all the things we have learned throughout our lives, And so we hold ourselves back. And because, we have these like beliefs, sometimes they are very obvious. They show up as like, well, what will the people say out there? Or one of my clients, she told me she had all these fantastic ideas for lives or going live in her group or like writing a post, and but then suddenly the doubts would kick in and stuff like, well, but who would want to listen to you? Who would believe you? Who would be interested in what you have to say? Or another client, she was even too afraid to leave comments, because, oh my God, what if I'm saying something wrong? What if they're making fun of me? What if they are like calling me out, telling me that I obviously have no idea? So leave me a 1 in the comments if this resonates with any one of you, either watching live or if you're watching the replay. I really would love to know so that I can really, also maybe give you more tips on that one. So what happens most of the time is when we experience these doubts, is that instead of actually sharing our expertise, letting our light shine, following our heart's desire, we go into hiding, and that makes us very often, like I remember it made me feel like, once again, I failed. Once again, I didn't do what I originally wanted to do, and sometimes even we feel it might make us feel like cowards, like especially when, people might come up to us asking like, so how's your business going? How's your career going? And you're like, and you just want to run away kind of, and or when it comes to like, your family is supporting you on this big desire of you, and they like give you all the support and the love, and you can't even post or go live, because of these fears. And it's kind of shameful as well, we have this like creepy feeling of shame within us. So, and of course, what can I say? That's not a good place to be in. I mean, who wants to be in this kind of energetic container of like failure or feeling like a coward or like this feeling of shame, And then like, I don't know, let me know in the comments, or maybe you have ever experienced something like this, but oftentimes we talk ourselves down. Of course, that doesn't help anybody, or a very obvious escapism is we start binge watching Netflix or YouTube,
Okay, been there.
Yes, yes, me too, me too. I mean, who hasn't? Let's be honest. I mean, there are probably people, but it's just a very easy way to escape, or sometimes even with drugs or alcohol, and I want to be full honest here. I used to be a big stoner, like before I started my business, when I started my healing journey myself, so to say. That was my escapism. I would get stoned to not face the reality. So, or also a really interesting way to escape this is we start working on our website for days on end. Or, we draft contracts for when the client eventually signs up. So basically what we do is, instead of posting, instead of going live, instead of doing an IG story or whatever it is, whatever platform you use, hanging out the flyers maybe for your, I don't know, massage therapy practice or whatever it is, we focus on tasks that are not money generating. This is a big one, because this is something so many people do. They are stuck, or they take care. Their to-do list is filled with non-money generating activities, believing, oh, this is important, I need this. Let me have a zip. And if any one of you guys resonates with that, girls and guys, leave a 2 in the comments. Let me know if this is something you're like, yeah, I've experienced that, because I for sure did. I think I spent 2.5 months working on my website.
Yeah, I've been a training consultant for a really long time, and my favorite way of hiding was formatting slides.
Ooh,
I would
that's a good
always
one.
format slides, right? And then
Yeah.
I'd be like, play with the font, and change the text, and
Oh
change the
yeah.
order, and actually at the end of the day, it didn't matter. But
No.
also, just gonna say, I did Netflix this morning because I did not want to do something,
Yeah.
and I did Netflix for about 40 minutes.
Yeah, but 40 minutes is something different than 3 or 6 hours.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
mean, let's and this is the reason why I'm so passionate about my program and about my work, because I come from the corporate world. I was an international trainer for self-leadership, self-management, time and task management. I traveled the world, and then I was like, of course I'm going to start my business, it's going to be a huge success.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after a year of going in circles, I realized, thanks to the help of others, I had lots of fears around visibility, success. We're going to talk about more on this areas, but let's not get sidetracked. So, I've just mentioned the symptoms that come up, such as, we binge watch Netflix, or we format slides, or we work on a website, which eventually never goes live, because let's be honest, a website is not really the most important aspect of an online business, and so this is just something that really happens a lot. I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with my clients, and sometimes it's just 40 minutes and then you do get to do the work. But if it takes over most of your time, then it's really time to acknowledge it.
So,
So,
Kathrin, I'll just say the only
yes.
reason why I cut myself off is because I have a deadline today.
Oh,
And that should have been done. So today's Wednesday as we're filming this. That should have been done last weekend, certainly on Monday. So like leaving it and leaving it is like, today is the do or die. I have to do it today. So that's the only reason why cut
Yeah.
myself off.
Oh, and what
Yeah.
was the reason you didn't do it earlier?
Um, because it's going to be evaluated by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
and it's fine when I'm doing stuff, and then obviously you get feedback, and some people have suggestions, or they like parts and don't like parts, and so on, and I'm very used to that. But when it's going in for somebody to evaluate and give me feedback on a one-to-one direct basis about my work, it's like, oh, I'm just going to avoid it for as long as possible.
Yes. And this is probably where the fear of failure kicks in.
Yeah,
Most
absolutely.
likely.
Absolutely. And yet it's not failure. That's the ironic thing. It's somebody's actually giving me feedback to help me. So it's not
Yeah,
rational.
that's the thing. There's we have the logic mind, the prefrontal cortex, which is I'm really good at my job. Of course, I'm going to deliver. They're going to be mind blown. You always get the positive feedback. But then there's the subconscious,
Yes.
driven by the 4-year-old Heather. I'm just assuming, I don't know anything, but or driven by the little 2-year-old, 3-year-old Kathrin, who eventually, blah, had an experience, and she's like, well, you might think all this and this, but hey, no. We decided we're gonna avoid failure at any costs.
Yeah,
And
and it's
that's
been a
just what
pattern.
happens.
It's been a pattern my whole life. I didn't like handing in assignments in school.
Yeah, there you go.
It's always been there. So that's
Yeah.
an interesting one.
Yeah. So, and this is exactly, what happens when we have these fears we might not even be aware of, because on a logical level, we are these accomplished, entrepreneurs or women who have worked successful careers in the corporate world, or, did great, awesome projects maybe. But in certain aspects, they are just these really weird behavioral patterns. We just like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting so much stress on me? Because I'm pretty sure, Heather, these past few days, when you were like, well, I'm just going to watch a little bit Netflix, they weren't relaxing at all.
Oh, no.
Because your mind was constantly like, but I have to do it, I have to do it. So,
Yeah.
it's more stressful than relaxing. And this also, this is just one aspect, but also what happens often, and also please let me know, anyone who watches this, or maybe also you, Heather, but what I've experienced when I was still caught up in this, like, hamster wheel of the fear of visibility, the fear of rejection, or the fear of failure, it's basically all a beautiful kind of potpourri, so to say. I would make big plans for the next day. I had like tons of endless lists, of all the things I wanted to talk about, all the things I could do, like the projects, the webinars, I don't know, you tell me, I probably did it. I probably set up around about 7 different freebies, because of all these great ideas I had. And so we think, also oftentimes, and again, let me know if this resonates with you, we believe, I just don't know the perfect strategy yet. It's not me, it's the strategy I'm still missing. I just need to book myself another business coaching to really figure out how it's done, and again, I did that 5 times. I spent more than 20,000 euros on business coachings. Yes, that's me.
Wow. I think that's
And
true for a lot of people, actually.
yeah, it is. Because the thing is, what we don't understand, it's not the strategy. It's not the strategy that holds you back to show up. It's a deep hidden fear in the subconscious mind that wants to keep you safe, because that's what our mind top priority is, to keep us safe, to keep us away from pain. And at some point we might have had an experience, where we delivered something, it wasn't perceived well, and which caused us pain. So we decided, like, no, I'm not going to deliver anymore. So, and again, what happens? We have all these big plans, but what happens in reality? I know what happened with me. Maybe you remember. I mean, you were supposed to deliver last weekend. You push it off to the next day. You push it off to the next day, and we keep on hiding. So again, let me know in the comments, for the people who watch us, if this is something you have experienced as well. I mean, Heather and Kathrin, we are already kind of like building a club here of has-beens. And so here's the thing. And this is really where, this is kind of the tricky part. And I think Heather already kind of like pointed it out a little bit. And, it's kind of easy to understand I have a fear of failure, or a fear of rejection, or a fear of visibility when I have these like kind of obvious thoughts, such as, oh my God, what will the people say? Oh my God, what if they don't like me? They will leave mean comments, or they will laugh about me, or they will tell me I don't have any experience. Who am I to say something like this? These are kind of like obvious signs. But oftentimes we are not even aware of this fear, because it's so well hidden. It's like as said, it's hidden in our subconscious mind. So again, these are signs, just to make sure that if this is something that actually you kind of like feel like, I don't fully identify with it yet, but somehow I'm still not showing up, there are other signs you might want to look out for. So, for example, Heather just shared with us that she did 40 minutes of Netflix. And also, very often is so, for example, this is something I've experienced. You sat down, you had this great idea about a post, you felt really excited about this post, and suddenly you remember, oh my God, I've been promising my grandma, who's like 97, to call her for weeks now. And I just have to do it now because who knows for how much longer she's going to live. And I mean, I know it's going to be like an hour-long conversation, but I just have to do it now. And or like suddenly you remember for 2 years now, you have wanting to dust off your bed ruffles. Let's just do it now because now is the perfect time. I mean, I can still write this post later, or like this friend who asked you like 3 weeks ago to research something. I don't know, whatever, suddenly you remember all these tasks, all these things you have been putting off, promised to someone else, promised to yourself, and you don't write the post. You don't show up live. You don't do the Instagram, Facebook story, whatever it is, And I very often remember, I remember that very often at the end of the day, I was like, where did all the time go? Where did all the time go? What did I even do today that kept me away from writing a single post? So, and this is just a really important reminder that even though those fears are based on beliefs, it's not necessarily obvious that we have these beliefs. So avoiding visibility or the possibility to experience failure might be covered up by, oh yeah, I have to weed out the garden right now in the middle of November, or like when I remember when I was studying and I had to study when I was still in university and I had to study for the exams, I suddenly started playing video games. Never in my life did I play video games. Never did I afterwards. But during that time, I became an avid video game player. So let me know if any of these examples ring a bell with you. If this is something like, yep, I might not think of like being a failure or whatever, but my house has been super clean lately. Maybe something like that, So let's talk about what to do instead. So I think I've painted the picture. Or are there any questions on other signs we might be able to detect this? Or shall we move on and talk about how we can eventually actually leave this vicious circle so that we can step up, show ourselves, show the expertise, the experience we have? I think it's
Annabelle is sharing her experience that wanted to post something, but delayed it and then do another task. And then after that, forgot what to post.
Yeah.
And it's like very convenient. Been there. Just wanted just me too.
So here, Annabelle was her name. I didn't see her.
Yeah.
Annabelle, here's a great tip for you. If like if you have an idea for a post, but also suddenly like all these other tasks suddenly come up, maybe in the beginning a really great step could be take a piece of paper and write down the idea, just the idea of it, but in a way that you still get it when you come back to it later on, So this is something I do, sometimes because I'm like in between certain things, but suddenly I have an idea for a post or for a story. I just write down the idea, and this is something I've learned, I have to do it in a way that I still understand what I meant when I come back. I don't know if this is something anyone else has experienced so far, but sometimes I'm like, what did I mean by, not that I couldn't read my writing. I was just like, what did I mean by that? So make it clear. And then maybe even kind of like challenge yourself a little bit, like, okay, I'm going to do this task now, but my goal for today is to write this one post. And at the end of the day, acknowledge what happened. Don't put yourself down, whatever happened, in case it didn't happen, but just acknowledge it, become aware of it. That already is a really great way to, release that fear, so to say. So, and that is basically really something, and this is basically part of the exercise I wanted to share with you so that we can really release these fears, so that we can step up, express our greatness, express our awesomeness, in a way we enjoy, we have fun with, and to create the financial independence and the success we know we are supposed to have, because let's be honest, we are awesome. So the first step, and it's basically very much what I've just said to Annabelle, is to really recognize it. Recognize these patterns, whether it's like these kind of obvious thoughts or these patterns where we, just either push it off to the last minute, like you shared with us, Heather, or by, ending up not doing it at all because we kind of like forgot about what we wanted to talk about. So again, very important, recognize this first step and set yourself an intention, maybe even as a first step. Make the intention that you want to really understand what is going on. We don't want to give it a name necessarily. When you talk, when you do this with yourself, don't necessarily give it a name, because then when we name it, it kind of like gets more ground, so to say. But just like set out the intention, like, hey, I want to understand what is going on here. So, and then when this pattern, this behavior kind of like kicks off, recognize it. Maybe that can be just the intention. I want to recognize the pattern. So when it comes up, recognize it, and then when you recognize it, I really want you to take 10 seconds to just be proud of yourself. To just be proud of yourself. Maybe even pat yourself on the shoulder. I always like to do, so to be like, yeah, I recognized it, because this is an awesome step, and then the next level, the next step, once you've recognized it, is to like, okay, hold on a second. I just had an amazing idea for a really cool post. And suddenly this other idea comes up where I should, I don't know, weed out the garden or whatever it is you want to do instead. What is the worst that could happen if I write the post right now? Ask it. Have a piece of paper. Ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen if I write this post right now and post it? And then let your mind, let the critic, in Germany we call it the Schweinehund, the pig dog, let it come to it. Let it tell you all the reasons why your critic thinks you shouldn't write this post, you shouldn't post it, you shouldn't do the live, you shouldn't do the IG story, whatever it is. Let it all out. Don't push it away. Don't think to yourself, oh, that's ridiculous. Let it out. Give it space. Make it some room. And once you've written it all out, it's not about that we, want to harvest on these negative ideas, but we need to acknowledge them. It's really important to acknowledge these like reasons. And then express some gratitude. Express some gratitude towards yourself, towards your critic, to being so honest with you, to sharing it with you. And then once you've let it all out, once you've expressed the gratitude, ask the ultimate question. Is this really true? Is this really true? I mean, like, whatever, the answers were from the critics. Like, is this ultimate true? Is this really the only perspective? Is that the only answer? Is there really no other possibility out there? than the answers your critic gave you. Always remembering they come from our ego. Our ego wants to keep us safe. Yeah. And then most likely, I'm pretty sure the answer you come up with, and then once you ask yourself, is this really true? Will be, no, it's really not. And then set out the intention that you are willing to see it differently, that you are open for new perspectives. So and this opens you up for a new, because in the end, what the critic tells you is just a bunch of beliefs, and kind of disempowering beliefs. But when you open yourself up for new perspectives, what more empowering beliefs can you find? What more empowering beliefs or thoughts would actually motivate you to write this post? Yeah. So write these down. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Whatever comes up. And then I invite you to sit with it. Resonate with those. How do you do that? You repeat them, either silently in your mind or just like saying it out loud, and just feel it in your body. Feel it, how it would be if you actually would write this post. And really recognize what happens in your body, And this is a great way to not only connect with yourself, to really understand what is holding you back, and then to ultimately, with every time you do this exercise, to release those intentions, to release those fears. However, of course, the most effective and fastest way to release any of these fears that keep us from showing up, that keep us from having the confidence of a successful entrepreneur, is to really use the power of hypnosis, to use the power of a deep healing trance. Because what happens when we use the transformative power of a healing trance is we gain access to our subconscious mind, which I've mentioned before. And when we have access to our subconscious mind, we easily and super fast can identify the root cause, because then we open up this vault, of all these experience, memories, decisions we've made in the age from 0 to 7, and to really understand, okay, what is it that keeps me hiding? And once we identify this, and this is the power of hypnosis, this is the power of trance, we can actually release it. We can release these beliefs and then implant more empowering beliefs, so that when you come back from the hypnosis, excuse me, there will not only be a lightness because you release these like blocked, stuck energies, but we infused you with more empowering, lighter, exciting beliefs, and the change will be immediately. Like, it's incredible. You will not recognize yourself afterwards, because you will go on and want to write the post, share your story, connect with your community, whatever the aim is. So, and this is exactly what I help my clients with. And for example, my client Katharina, she came to me after she had spent 8,000 euros on a business coaching, where also mindset was included. But she always felt like, A, everything else was having more success than me, and B, who's going to listen to me? Who wants to hear from me? I mean, no one's going to listen to my stories. I mean, who am I to talk about her topic, And what we discovered in the healing trance was, when she was a little baby, and we were both born in the 70s. So when she was a little baby, she had some kind of like virus or whatever. So she was put in the hospital in this big room with a bunch of other babies, all by herself, lying there, crying for her mommy. But no one would notice her. And the belief she formed, even as this little baby, was, it doesn't matter how much I express myself, no one notices it. So of course we released, yeah, it's really sad, but that's just what happened. And the good thing is we released it right away. And not only is she showing up constantly ever since, but she gained more clients for her online yoga studio. And she just a couple of weeks ago really launched her first group program successfully. So, instead of spinning the wheels, she's moving forward. And that is just such a beautiful experience. And and that's why I decided, since this month is my birthday month, my birthday is coming up, I wanted to do something new, especially for your group, Heather, because I felt like inspired and so grateful to have the opportunity to speak live here. And I wanted to offer a limited amount of mindset shift calls completely for free, but to really help your community to understand what it is that is keeping them stuck, that is keeping them going in circle, that is keeping them hiding. So in this call, I help them to really identify what it is, show them how they can release it so that they walk away feeling lighter, clearer about their next step, motivated to do it, to really take the action. And in full transparency, just to be clear, if I feel we are aligned, I will make you an offer to work with me. But regardless, this should not stop you to take this call, because in the end, you will walk away from this call knowing exactly what it is and how you can release it.
Beautiful.
How does that sound?
Thank
Yes.
you. That's wonderful. Yes. So you can get in touch with Kathrin. Kathrin is in the Confidence to Cabaret community. You can also get in touch with her on Facebook and on Instagram.
Yes.
So we put all of the links into the notes.
Yes.
So you'll be able to get in touch if you'd like to have one of the mind shift calls.
Yes. Just tag me in the comments and leave the word shift in it, and I'm happy to reach out to you. Like, brilliant. Super easy. There's really no strings attached.
Nice. I'm just typing that into the comments.
Yeah, just tag me, leave the word shift in it, and then I get in touch with you.
Brilliant.
Yes. So, and if anybody has any questions?
Well, there haven't been any questions. There have been comments about, really relating to these things. And I just want to re-emphasize that question. When you're talking about listing all of the things of, if I do this, what will happen or what could happen? And then is it true? I love that question. It has shifted so many things for me. Is it true? Well, no. And then you can go as deep with that even as you want to, right? Because you can really get into is it always true? Yeah. Well, no, but it could be. Or it was that one time. And so, and really kind of get, bottoming out that truth so that you can recognize that these are fears.
Yeah.
And not truths.
Yeah.
And even if it has happened, the worst case scenario before, it doesn't mean that it will. And it certainly doesn't mean that it always will.
And also really important to recognize is that I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Yes, I made a mistake. Like, for example, once I did a live on Instagram, and a friend of mine, he was like, well, you could switch your camera so you don't see yourself all the time. And this is also apparently a way to be more, I don't know, confident or something like that. But somehow, what can I say? I'm not a tech maven. I was filming the whole time my balcony with my laundry hanging out. So during the whole live, like they could hear me, but they will all just see my laundry. Nice. So, and I'm still alive, like nothing happened. No one sent me hate mails or anything. Yeah. So it's all good, and I think this is really important because our mind wants to keep us safe. Our mind wants to keep us away from pain, So even if we fail, keep us, remind yourself, like, I'm still alive. I'm still safe, So.
If someone was resistant for whatever their reasons might be to hypnosis, and that is not me, because I've had all of my children hypnotized. I
It's,
love hypnosis.
yeah, it's great.
It is and we've all been in a trance state. I mean, if you went through an
All, yeah,
education
all
system,
throughout
you
that,
have been in trance. I
yeah,
mean,
throughout the day, everyone, like trance is a natural state of the mind.
yeah, absolutely. So, but if somebody didn't, they weren't comfortable with it at this
Mhm.
time for whatever reason, what's an alternative way? So we go through all of these, kind of, if I did this, then what's the worst that can happen, and is it true? And we go through all of these, and we acknowledge it and feel grateful for it. Is there a like a second place kind of
Mhm.
way of tackling it?
Yeah, great question. I mean, what is really important to understand our subconscious mind, even though I point to the back of our head, is not only at the back of our head. Our whole body is, so to say, our subconscious mind. So these fears are not only stuck in the subconscious mind, in the back of our heads, but in every cell of our body. So another way I help my clients to release those fears is, of course, we need to analyze them, and they are just like, powerful questions that will help you to like have a conversation and still helps you to open up your subconscious mind, so that we really understand what is going on with you, because we need to understand the reasoning behind it, and then use other techniques to release the energetic blocks from your energetic field. So that can also be done. A very powerful tool, for example, is EFT, emotional freedom technique, that really helps you to release those stuck emotions, and meditation. I offer my clients guided meditations, because one of the most powerful tools, and I'm so in love with it. And I don't know if any one of you have heard from Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And he talks a lot about, come into your body. And this is something I help my clients with, one through meditation. There are specific techniques that really help you to come into the present moment very quickly in meditation. But also, I'm a yoga teacher and avid yogi for years. No, I don't let my clients do yoga necessarily, but what I use are breathing techniques that also help to release blocked energies and stress, and calm down the nervous system, also really important. And sometimes I actually also include movement. Again, it's not yoga in any shape or form. Of course, if the client wants that, then I'm happy to do this. But what is just so important and so powerful is to really come home to us, home into our body, because our body offers us the most powerful tool there is, which is our emotional guiding systems, our intuition, so to say. Because here's the thing, what most people don't understand, and that's why, and I did that. Let's be honest, I spent more than 20,000 euros on business coachings because I wouldn't trust myself, is that the desire that is within you, this like burning desire to whatever it is you want to achieve, has been placed, if I may use that term, by your soul, by the source, by whatever you believe in, whatever you want to call it, and your soul, your intuition knows the fastest way to get there, you know and that is, and because of that, it is very important and part of my program to really come back into our body, to really, because it's not only mindset work. That is one of the reasons why when you only do mindset work, you don't see the success everybody's promising you. But we really have to incorporate everything that we are. And that includes the body. Did I
Very much
answer?
so.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, very much so, and it is um, a huge part of my work, and that's where confidence through cabaret comes from. The cabaret bit is about being in your body and
Mhm.
about taking up space and about owning it and about really just being unapologetic for who you are and where you are.
Yeah.
So, so it's beautifully aligned, and thank you for that
Mhm.
answer. And I think, for some of us, we need to work up to it. Maybe we start with a little bit of, I don't know, work around the thought processes, or getting into our body a little bit, and we work our
Mhm.
way up to it. And then at some point, maybe we sort of say, okay, I'd like to do some hypnosis work. I've shared a lot of information about my youngest son who suffers from anxiety, and we didn't understand or realize it even. Um, and and when COVID hit, that anxiety went into depression. It just
Oh, yeah.
crashed because it
Mhm.
was just severe fear. And that was the first thing that he said was, "Can I get hypnosis?" Because he'd had hypnosis for exam anxiety. He'd had a hypnosis for also for not following through on tasks where he would not quite finish something.
Oh, yeah, that's also a big sign of not necessarily only for fear of visibility or fear of failure or fear of rejection, but jumping from one project to another.
Yeah.
Everybody raise their hands if they have more than 3 open projects at the moment.
I mean, I have a pile of books next to me. All of them have notes and to-do lists and ideas, and it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And actually, I was thinking about that when you were saying about, like write down the post and then so you can come back to it later on if you are gonna you know, do something else, if you are gonna use a toothbrush on your bathroom tiles instead of doing the post. That was a low point for me. That's a real story. But
Yeah.
not so much on socials, but certainly on writing proposals and things like that for large corporations. I was very intimidated for a long time, and so I think just that, like, coming back to it, just be my this is my own personal observation. Be very careful about not just getting good at making to-do lists, because they also can become your distraction.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would write my little to-do list, and then I'd go, oh, I've got time to do that this afternoon. I'll just do this other thing in the morning. And then in the afternoon, is, oh, I've got time. I'll be okay to do it this evening or tomorrow morning. And so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
would
yeah,
go
yeah.
on. And then I would be rewriting or reordering my to-do list, because now some things had become very urgent that weren't so urgent before, so they were down here and now they're up here. So I got that became a form of procrastination as well, and I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean,
kidding
I'm
you.
like earlier when I mentioned that idea, I also like put in like and give yourself the challenge that you actually do it,
Yeah, exactly. I
you
have
know? And
look,
yeah,
look, all these books, all of them have things to do.
yes. So here's the thing, and I guess now we're like kind of like switching into or moving into other topics. But the thing with that is that with all these open ideas we eventually started, but then put aside because something else came up, is we create all these kind of like energetic holes. Let me just call it holes. It's not the right word, but just let me, because nothing better comes up right now. And or I mean, when I was still like working in the corporate world, um, I would always tell people every time you give someone like every time you say something, oh, I will do this, or I want to do that, or you start here a project, or you start with this idea or whatever, and then you don't finish it. You basically, and that's something that always helps me to, actually finish something or to just cut it off, to make the decision to cut it off. It's basically you drag around, and excuse the language. You basically drag around a bucket of shit tied to your leg, and this is really what happens with all these unfinished businesses, with all these unfinished projects and ideas. You just weigh yourself down with it. So at some point, I would recommend either you have a whiteboard at home, or you have a big, like big pieces of white paper and space. Write down everything, everything that is on your mind. Set yourself, like, do a classical brainstorming. Set yourself a timer. A timer can be very powerful. And that you believe nothing is coming up anymore, but there's still time left on the timer. Just put your hands on your body, take a few deep breaths. What else is clinging on to me? And certainly more stuff will come up, and just put it out there. And then you can cluster it and see, what can I release? What can I cut off? I have this beautiful new moon ritual to release all these like old shit. And what is important, what I like dailies, or I don't know, like, and then go through them and not start anything new. Like, I love to buy books, but I told myself, now I'm not going to buy any more books before I have not finished the books I have.
Yeah.
So that's a really great tip, to really get yourself an overview, and then really prioritize, decide what is important, what can you let go of, and then really like cut it off.
Beautiful. And actually, if you've had, it's the same with our wardrobes, it's the same with, like you say, books, is, if you've had a certain number of years or seasons and you still haven't used it, cut it off. I got rid of about 2 boxes of books because I was never going to read them. And I was moving from house to house and taking them with me. And then I just thought, no, I'm not doing this. Actually, you can't see it here now, but I have a wall with Post-it notes all over it.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly shifting them around. And then when I've finished something, then I take it off, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And it's a really kind of a nice way of, because it's kinesthetic, right? I can take it and crumple it up and, yes, I did that.
Yes.
And then it's moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you for sharing. I'm so excited.
Yes.
And I was going to say, we will be back next Wednesday.
Yes.
But in the meantime, if you drop the word shift in and tag Kathrin, then you guys can get together and talk about the mind shift calls and make a plan.
Yes. And next week, we will talk about a super juicy topic, which is the main driver, which many of us kind of like, how do I put this? Which is the reason why many of us book one business coaching after another. It's when we take all the action, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
Because there's another fear hiding in between. And I believe that this is super important to talk about, to address it, to bring awareness to, before we spend any more money on business coachings.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you want to, then please be my guest.
I mean, it's a huge part of imposter syndrome, isn't it? Is to just keep saying, if I just get one more certificate, if I just do this one more thing. And you're right, what you said at the beginning, the strategy isn't the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, imposter syndrome is more about like certifications for certain skills. And with the business coaching, I was rather referring to like, learn how to do the perfect funnel, learn how to write the perfect opening sequence for your email marketing, learn how to, I don't know, whatever it is, like I booked a coaching. I remember that was the first business coaching I booked, was like, like Business by Design, by a very famous American trainer. And, he's very much in his male energy, which is beautiful for him, but going through his stuff, the videos were way too long. He just, which was already kind of like exhausting, going through all these like hour-long videos. And then, he was basically giving you all these strategies on how to execute the perfect launch. When to write what, like how many emails to write, when to send them, what landing, like all these little details. And I just looked at it and I already felt so exhausted that I was like, closed it, didn't look at it again for another 6 months. Then I opened it up again because I wanted to launch my crew program, which I did in March, but in German. So anyways, I was like, okay, I understand what a launch is about. So now I'll just do it my way.
Yeah. And you can change and tweak it. I mean, look at what we were talking about this today with StreamYard. You know, I've been using StreamYard for, I don't know, over a year now, and it works and I can do all the things that I want to do. And then today I found out, oh, there's more things. If I had known all of the things at the beginning, I wouldn't have been able to use StreamYard.
Mhm.
You know, it's just adding and adding and
We have to
adding. We
grow
just
with
start with the
our,
basics.
yeah.
Yeah, and there are quite a few people in the community who have started podcasts, were ready to do a year's worth of research, and I said, start in a week.
Yeah.
If you really want this, start it in a week. You don't need all the branding. You don't
No.
need all the stuff. You don't need the fancy microphone. You
No.
just start it,
I
and
know
then you
people
build.
who do their podcast with a headset
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we used to do the podcast just, I didn't even have a microphone, you know, I didn't have a light, I didn't have anything, you know, so
Yeah.
you don't need all of the things.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay, well,
Well,
let's
thank
let's
you.
not. Yes, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to show up in your space, to give me some space, and to, hopefully inspire or give some value to your community.
Thank you
And
again. And I think, you know, I would love it if you would drop a comment about how you're getting on, what resonates with you about your fear or visibility when you're watching this. If you're watching this on replay, then share your takeaways, or if you have any questions, then we can come back to those.
yes, please. And because I really feel it's important to really know the pitfalls so that we can, I don't really like the word tackle, but tackle them basically.
Okay, Kathrin, we will see you next week for fear of
Yay!
doing stuff and not getting the results. I know there was a more articulate way of saying that, but there you go.
Yes,
The end of the
yes.
day in the UK. And for you as well. Thank you again for being here.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you so
everyone. I'm Heather
much.
Jean. I just want to remind you that it is your body and it is your world and it is your stage. Take up space and own it.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.